Hello everyone, Jad is here, and this is going to be a review of probably my most favorite smartphone ever. This is the review of the iPhone 5. So without further ado, let's get started, shall we? Now before we get into the internals, let's go have a look around the device. From the bottom, you can see we have a 3.5mm headphone jack, a microphone, lightning connector, and a monologue speaker. On to the right of the device, all we have is the nano SIM tray and just some antenna bands. To the top, we have just the power button. No headphone jack anymore, that's at the bottom. To the left of the device we have the silent and mute button and the 2 volume controls button. And that's really it for the sides. Onto the back we just have the 8 megapixel camera, the noise cancellation mic and the LED flash. Now the front of the display is dominated by a 4-inch Retina display, and that Retina display has a resolution of 1136 by 640. Now I know what you're going to say, it's not obviously a 1080p display, and 4 inches is small in today's terms, obviously, when you're getting, Samsung Galaxy S4s and HTC Ones with 5 inches and 1080p's. But I definitely say that the resolution on this is still definitely by far from pixelated and just bad in general. I definitely say this is up to there. I mean, once you get into the sort of very high pixel density, it's hard to see a lot of difference anyway. You tend to notice more difference on lower PPIs and when that goes up. So when I see 1080p displays, it's not a huge difference in this. I mean, there is obviously a difference, and I tend to notice that quite well. But in terms of the display on this device, I definitely say it's up there with some of the best displays. I mean, obviously, text is going to be a bit sharper, but the icons here and just animations and things like that tend to look just fine. Now the only time that you really notice any difference in the display is when you watch videos. From what I've seen on 1080p displays, they tend to obviously there's obviously a very noticeable difference in the sharpness of the videos. 1080p display phones tend to look a lot more sharper, whereas this tends to look a bit more pixelated. Obviously it still looks really great. I mean, obviously it's still HD in some senses, and once you find videos that are fully supported, the video quality obviously isn't very bad. It's very decent, but obviously it's not up to there with the whole 1080p displays, and obviously there's a lot of room for improvement on things like this. But I still say it's definitely reasonable, even on videos. If you're watching something on YouTube or possibly BBC iPlayer or Netflix, it's still very manageable, and I wouldn't put too many complaints on this. And obviously having a smaller display with the 4 inches, there is obviously some added benefits to it, such as the ease of one-handed functionality. Now iPhone, I'd say, probably is the easiest handling phone, especially now that it's even thinner than it was before. It's definitely good on the grip. Definitely can reach all 4 sides of the phone very easily without any sort of stretching. And so this obviously makes it very good for typing with the one-handed, when you're just standing around, or maybe when your other hand's is busy or something, or you're just too lazy to do it. Obviously, it's really good. I mean, you can reach all 4 sides from it, get all the controls, everything. It's very easy and it's very nice, and that obviously is one of the benefits of having a smaller display. Obviously, if you want something with a larger display, if you want to watch movies more, I'd suggest probably looking for a larger screen phone. But even despite everything like that, I'd say this is definitely a good display altogether. Now the iPhone 5 is powered by a dual-core 1.3 GHz A6 processor, and this is Apple's latest processor that they put in all their iOS devices. I would definitely say it's definitely a very good step up from the A5 and the A4. I mean, even the most basic games on the iPhone 4, which had the A4 processor, were very laggy, and even simple games like Temple Run 2 used to run very slowly, and there used to be a lot of lag as you navigated through the UI. And with the A6 processor, it's just completely gotten rid of. I mean, it's really done a fantastic job with the optimization, just getting everything out of the way. Just everything's completely smooth and crystal, and no lag whatsoever, no frame rate drop, consistent throughout. And I really have to give good credit to that. I mean, it's one of the smoothest UI experiences that I've ever had. Nothing seems to ever lag down, and games, even the most graphic intensive games, tend to get through this very good and last very long. Now, one thing I do have a gripe with is that when you do play very intensive games, or if you do some very intensive processing on this, the back tends to get very, very hot. I mean, right now, I've just finished playing the game, and it's very, very hot. It's definitely not to the point where it's burning hot, but it's definitely noticeable, and it's definitely warming, but it definitely makes my hands go very sweaty. Which is, I just don't understand why it does that. I mean, sometimes it does it for even no apparent reason at all. Sometimes it's just in my pocket, and then I pick it up, and it's incredibly hot. It just has this phase of going very hot suddenly, and then cooling back down. And it's very weird. I mean, I have the same problem with the HTC One. I don't know if it's the aluminium on the back that, because it's metal, it tends to conduct heat more, and it just makes it go very hot easily. But that is one problem that I have, and I do wish that Apple would try to address that, and just try to make the process a bit more power efficient, because when that does happen, there is a huge battery drain on the phone, and it's very irritating. While I'm still talking about the material, I have noticed that the aluminium isn't quite very strong. It tends to chip very easily. I mean, if I could just show you here, you can just see all these chips across the top part, and you can just see. I don't even know how these got here. They just seem to appear as soon as I took them out of my pocket. I don't drop this phone very often. I've only had one drop on it so far, and now there's one here, and that left a huge dent on the back right here. If we can just give a close up here, when it dropped on the side, and it just seems to chip very easily. If you can see all these sort of white marks, they're not sort of dust or anything, they're actual chippings, where the black aluminium's been sort of just scraped away, and it's just left with this sort of weird, ugly, sort of metallic look to it. And I think hopefully Apple will try to address that, but it's just irritating because it just looks ugly after a while. It makes it sort of impossible to use it without a case. Which I initially didn't do at the very start until I started getting a lot of these chippings, and obviously that dent really did the trick. Yeah, I really wish it could have been built a bit more steady. I have heard that white one tends to chip a little less, but yeah, I'm gonna have the black one here obviously, so I'm stuck with this one. Possibly get the white one at a future date. Now, in terms of the battery life, the iPhone 5 right now has a 1400 mAh battery. It's relatively low compared with a lot of the phones that are coming with over 2000 mAh batteries, but Apple have really done a great job with the power optimization and just trying to get as much power efficiency as possible out of this, and I think they've done a good job considering the battery is quite small relative to today's sort of mobile phones. I have found it to be a little on the low end. Obviously, I mean, the battery's still bad, as most smartphones, for me anyway, I can't really go through a day without charging most things, like the HTC One or the iPhone 5 or the Galaxy S4, things like that. Just, for me, it's just not enough battery without getting an extendable battery or, a spare charger. But usually I find it to be similar to most sort of brand new smartphones, like I said, the HTC One or the Galaxy S4, other phones like that. So well done to Apple for that. Obviously, you've got a lot less going on. I mean, you've got a smaller screen size with less resolution, and you've got a smaller processor. So that does play into the fact of it being a bit more energy efficient. Now, in terms of charging as well, you can see that Apple made some new changes to the actual charger, and you can see right here we have the new Lightning connector, which is it's reversible now, so obviously it's a lot smaller reversible, and I actually genuinely really like this. I thought it wouldn't matter to me that much, but it really does make a big difference when I just want to quickly charge up and just work on it both ways, or just quickly do it and then get it out of the way. Usually I used to be a bit flimsy. You're just trying to connect the bigger 30-pin one before, and this one's just a lot easier because you just put it in and you're good to go. An easy way. Now, one other thing I really did like was, which I found odd at first time, was that the headphone jack is at the bottom. Usually they're at the top, but I've actually really enjoyed it, because normally when I was watching maybe a movie or listening to music, the headphone would be here and the wire would be sort of dangling through the screen. So I think Apple did a good job with trying to get, sort of addressing and realizing that, and then sort of getting rid of that. So good work on that part. Also, I think the speaker has been a noticeable improvement. It's a lot louder and clearer now, a lot less tinny. It's not obviously anything like HTC boom sound or big fancy speakers, but it's a lot better. And for a smartphone speaker, it's definitely good. Top up there. On to the noise cancellation mic, and this was a very good addition, which I didn't think would make a huge difference. If I could just show you here, yeah, that's right there. This obviously, from what I've heard, in terms of people who use my phone, people who use other iPhone 5s, the noise cancellation mic does make a huge difference to voice quality. It just makes everything a lot clearer and not nicer to listen to. It's almost like you're listening to a person standing next to you. And a very good camera there, feature there. Now, in terms of the camera, the iPhone 5 features an 8-megapixel camera capable of 1080p video recording. And it's relatively good, actually. I have to say that in terms of the cameras, Apple's, I think, always been very good in terms of the cameras. Very good exposure, nothing too bad in terms of low light performance. So overall, a very good and solid smartphone camera. And I'm just taking some videos just to show you what the performance is on that. Just one final thing before I wrap things up. I really hate Siri on the phone, I have to say. One of my biggest disappointments, I think, is probably going to be either the keyboard, which doesn't have any gesture typing like on Android, and probably Siri. I think that's it, really, because for me, Siri just doesn't go nearly as fast as things like Google now. I think the voice recognition is not top-notch, really. It's just a bit, yeah, and it just sort of takes a lot of time to just do basic stuff like find information on really basic things. It's good for some things, like I usually do it to use Siri to set any alarms or reminders, or maybe occasionally make some notes. But really, it's a useless feature right now because it just doesn't do. It does things, it just does it really, really slowly, and sometimes you're better off just using it manually. But yeah, I think that's really something Apple need to work on, just the speed of Siri. And right now, iOS 6 is getting a bit stale as well. I mean, iOS 7 is coming out. I mean, I've posted a review on that. But right now, it's just the way the iPhone is right now. It's just not good enough, really, for me. I still obviously love the phone. I mean, iPhones are really my favorite phones altogether. I still love using them. I love the simplicity of them. I love the way it integrates with all my devices, so like my iPad and my Mac. It all integrates well with them. Just the smoothness, everything like that, and the lack of lag is really a big bonus for me. And just the overall hand functionality, things like that, it really works for me very well. Well, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this review. Please don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and check out my other videos. Have a nice day.